continue our discussion with Ambassador Joseph Wilson. He's the retired U.S. diplomat who was sent on a CIA-sponsored mission to investigate the allegation that Niger had sold uranium to Saddam Hussein. He came back saying that the documents on which this claim was based were bogus, were forged. Cheney talked about him this weekend. The vice president talked about him on Meet the Press, saying he didn't know Joseph Wilson, that he had not filed a report. He also said that he didn't know who had sent you, raising questions about the whole legitimacy of your mission to Niger.
Yeah, I heard that. I don't know what the vice president was trying to get at in that. I mean, I'm not sure that he answered that series of questions particularly well. Let me make one point, however, that the gist of my trip out to Niger was to look into whether or not such a transaction could happen. And what I looked into was not forged documents, because I had not seen the documents. I had been given an oral briefing on what they contained. I looked into how the business is structured and how the bureaucracy, which would cover such an agreement, which would have been a legitimate, if discrete, sale from one sovereign government to another. I looked into how the bureaucracy covering that sale worked and how the documents would have been prepared. When I returned, I said that both from an industry perspective, because of the nature of the business, and from a government decision-making perspective, it was highly unlikely that such a sale had taken place. If it had taken place, or if the documents that covered this sale, these documents we presumably had or had seen, did not contain certain signatures, then those documents could not be authentic.
Now to the other issue, which is Robert Novak, the syndicated columnist, saying that your wife is a CIA operative working on the issue of weapons of mass destruction. Quoting, two senior administration officials told me his wife suggested sending Wilson to Niger to investigate the Italian report. The CIA says its counter-proliferation officials selected Wilson and asked his wife to contact him. This issue of outing a CIA operative, your response?
Well, it's I mean, clearly, if my wife were, as Novak asserted, it would be a violation of American law, as you correctly pointed out in your introduction. It's the Intelligence Agent Identification Act. It dates back to 1982, and there are clear criminal charges that would have to be brought after an investigation, which is conducted first by the CIA and then referred to the Justice Department and the FBI for further investigation. That's if she were as Novak asserted. If she isn't, it is still something of an embarrassment, to say the least. I'm not sure that our family security is necessarily threatened by this, but it's certainly an embarrassment for her, because she has to sort of talk to all her friends and people that she's known over the past 20 years and explain to them why what Novak said is or is not true. I mean, my bottom line on this is that for an administration that came to office promising to restore honor and dignity to the White House, what they did with respect to my wife was neither honorable nor was it dignified. In fact, it has really very little to do with me. It has nothing to do with her. This whole thing has nothing to do with her. The attack on her, and by extension the attempts to sort of launch attacks on me or discredit my credibility, are clearly designed to intimidate others from coming forward, and I've said that repeatedly. People who might be willing to come forward, those who had said that they had felt pressured, they had said so anonymously to the press, might have been contemplating coming forward to talk to their congressman about this. They'll think twice about it after having seen, the Novak allegation about my wife.
I wanted to turn for a minute to the White House press briefing reporter questioning the White House press secretary, Scott McClellan.
Robert Novak column last week identified the wife of Ambassador Joseph Wilson as a CIA operative who was working on WMD issues. Novak said that identification is based on information given to him by two administration sources. That column has now given rise to accusations that the administration deliberately blew the cover of an undercover CIA operative, and in so doing violated a federal law that prohibits the revealing the identity of undercover CIA operatives. Can Can you respond to that?
Thank you for bringing that up. That is not the way this president or this White House operates. And there is absolutely no information that has come to my attention or that I have seen that suggests that there is any truth to that suggestion. And certainly no one in this White House would have been given authority to take such a step. I'm saying that that is not the way that this president or this White House operates, and I've seen no evidence to suggest there's any truth to it.
Are you saying Novak is wrong in saying that these two administration sources who were his source?
I have no idea who anonymous is. I often wish that would be anonymous.
Well, that would be senior administration.
Anonymous, whether it's anonymous senior administration officials or just anonymous sources, it's still anonymous.
Is Novak lying? Do you think he's making it up?
I'm telling you our position. I'll let the columnist speak for himself. But
I'm saying flatly it did not happen.
I'm telling you flatly that is not the way this White House operates. I've seen no evidence to suggest that there's any truth to that.
That's different from saying it didn't happen. Are you saying absolutely it did not happen?
I'm saying no one was certainly given any authority to do anything of that nature, and I've seen no evidence to suggest there's any truth to it. I want to make it very clear that is simply not the way this White House operates.
If it turns out that somebody in the administration did do that,
I'm not even speculating about it because I have no knowledge of any truth to that report.
What's the extent of your knowledge, then? Don't you want to get some more facts? I mean, how do you know that no one in the administration, Robert Novak's been around for
If I could go
long?
find anonymous, Terry, I would.
Ambassador Wilson, this whole issue of who anonymous it is, the discussion has been going on the internet. You also raised the issue in the Washington Forum with Congressmember Inslee. The name Karl Rove has been thrown about quite a bit, and you also raised that. Just wanted to play that comment.
Sure.
Well, Mr. Wilson, assuming what Robert Novak said about your wife was true and the seriousness of that, can we expect the FBI to give a complete, unhindered investigation into that? And find out wherever it leads to?
I'm not sure I know how to answer that. Because we're talking in hypotheticals, the way the process works is if this were to have been true, the CIA will do an internal investigation and determine whether or not in their judgment a law has been broken. They then refer it to the Justice Department, who takes another look at it, and then it's referred to the FBI for further investigation. Now, despite the fact that John Ashcroft's in charge of the Justice Department, this violation, if it is in fact a violation, is one that is a violation of a professional. And the investigation and the look into this will be done essentially by professionals. Now, there is a lot of interest in Congress. Henry Waxman has been keenly interested in this and offered all sorts of support. Chuck Schumer, Mr. Gun Control, came out and made a statement to the effect that if true, this was like putting a gun to the head of an agent. John Dean, of all people, just wrote the other day that the president should have extended a Secret Service protection to me and my family as a consequence of this. He didn't, by the way, I must say. Although I will tell you, I think they're scared to death that I might stub my toe. But I have confidence that at the professional level that whatever they think is doable will be done. My own sense is that, and I've told the FBI this, that should they decide to undertake an investigation, that I want to talk with them to see how I can best support the investigation, not do anything to impede it. And I think I do have a vote in this, since Congress has basically said we'll do anything we can to support you. And the question is whether or not having Chuck Schumer and Hillary and others go forward and talk about this openly, Dick Durbin, impedes or helps the investigation down the road. But we'll see. I mean, I don't think we're going to let this drop. At the end of the day, it's of keen interest to me to see whether or not we can get Karl Rove frog marched out of the White House in handcuffs.